You're listening to CKNW's Chief Executives, live from SFU's Beatty School of Business. Presented by Fortis BC, energy solutions for every customer.
In an industry where you're providing security and peace of mind, you have to start from the inside and work your way out, which is exactly what Ashley did to become CEO of Paladin Security. Starting within Paladin, Ashley worked his way up the ranks, starting with his first Paladin position in 1979, providing janitorial services for a site. While completing his degree in commerce, Ashley paid his way as a security officer, and today, as CEO of Paladin, Ashley Cooper is able to draw from his experience with Paladin to provide a working environment for his employees that he knows firsthand that they will appreciate. These experiences also gave Ashley insight into where the security company can grow, which he believes is strongly based in new technologies and a continued dedication to industry-leading levels of training. Leading by shining example and displaying a strong dedication to his brand, it's our honour to welcome Ashley Cooper, CEO of Paladin Security, and today's guest for CKNW's Chief Executive Series.
Good morning, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
I want to learn a little bit about Paladin, but first I want to learn a little bit about you. You grew up here.
I did. I was born in Winnipeg and moved to Vancouver when I was about 6 years old.
Went to school in West Vancouver.
I did, yeah.
On to university.
On to university, on to UBC. I took my commerce degree and majored in urban land and finance and thought I was going to be a developer, but I don't know, I wound up in this business.
How did that happen?
Well, I started quite young in the business as I was a security guard in the business when I was about 18, 19 years old, and used that to work my way through university. And then when I graduated, I guess nobody wanted me, so I decided to keep going on the security part and just kept working it.
But your brother had actually started the business.
He did, yeah. He started it back in, I guess, about 1978, and when I was a young guy, he had both a janitorial and a security guard contract, so if the janitors didn't show up, he'd kind of give me a nod, say, hey, come on, let's go down and clean this place. And it was a big facility, and there was a big long road, and it was kind of a private road. He'd let me drive his car. He had a Trans Am at the time, so that was my pay for going down there and doing that.
Did you have any idea that was going to be a lifetime enterprise?
Not at all. I always thought I was going to be in business, some sort of business, but I didn't really know what it was. And it just, I think life is funny sometimes. Things just kind of, opportunities present themselves and things fall in your lap. And for me, that was it.
So what I've read about the business, it's grown dramatically. I was shocked when I discovered how many people you actually employ across the country.
Yeah, it's been a great run for us, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't thank my lucky stars and pinch myself. But historically, the security industry has been a pretty traditional and old-fashioned industry where not much new happens, and many companies are out there doing the same thing they did in the 1950s. So we looked at the industry a little bit different and thought we could make a change, and so we've blended technology and training and all these different things to customize the service to hit a number of vertical markets that we think are important.
You actually have nearly 7,000 employees.
We do, yeah. That's a lot of responsibility, and I take that one quite seriously.
How did that happen? I mean, what did you do that other companies didn't? And chart the growth a little bit in terms of how you went from being a part-time security guard to being the CEO of a 7,000 employee company.
Well, in some ways it's like that book Good to Great where the flywheel starts to turn and people don't notice a company doing very much, but they're doing all these things in the background. And after a while, it gets noticed, and you get that speed and that momentum. And so we've been doing things differently for a long time. It's just people started to take note of us in the last number of years.
But what have you done? I think most people, first of all, give us some insight into what your security company does and looks like. Because when most people think security, they think of a company with $12 an hour people who are kind of standing guard. They're not real cops, but they don't think it's a sophisticated business.
Yeah.
And yours has become a pretty sophisticated business.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people look at the security industry and they see the traditional Maytag repairman guy that doesn't get any business, and he puts his feet up on the desk and doesn't do anything, and nothing actually could be further from the truth. What we've done is we've specialized in the markets that are the most difficult types of security to provide. Things like healthcare, where you're actually part of the patient care delivery process, where your people put their hands on more patients and more people in a day than many other security companies do in a year.
Speak to that.
Well, it's healthcare security is a very challenging and complex environment, and one of the roles that we have is to, I guess, put ourselves in between a patient who may be acting out. They might have mental health issues. They may be on drugs. They may have some sort of level of intoxication. It could be a dual diagnosis situation where they're acting out, and our role is to get between that individual and the clinician to make sure that they can deliver safe care to that person. And so we put ourselves in harm's way on a regular basis and do it in a safe manner, and do it so that the patient isn't injured in the process.
So how do your people get trained to do that?
Oh boy, we have, that's really probably one of the keys to what it is we do, is the training. We've got a lot of people take 200 hours of training before they even get to a location to provide service. So there's significant levels of training in there. At our offices across the country. We have trainers on staff. We have online training courses. We have all sorts of training. It's really one of the fundamental aspects and one of the differentiators of our company is training. It's really, we believe in education at every level in Paladin, and we make it part of our culture.
So where do you find your people? How do you recruit?
We recruit in a lot of recruiting is done online. The concept for us is that somebody who's computer savvy is going to be more likely to come in an online way, and we want all of our people to be computer savvy. That's it's part of the new security.
But what other kind of training do they have? I mean, we hear constantly about the Vancouver Police Department, for example, having to intervene in mental health issues and mental health cases. Mm-hmm. And they have training at the Justice Institute, but it's really for policing. It's not for mental health interdiction. So how do your people learn how to deal with someone who's struggling with drug or mental health issues?
Oh, we have specialized courses specifically for that. We have courses on dealing with people with mental health issues. We have courses on nonviolent crisis intervention, how to de-escalate escalating violence in many ways. Essentially what happens is that these courses teach you how to recognize different levels of aggression and react accordingly so that you can do so in a safe way, but not only safe for yourself and your team, but safe for the individuals acting out. And that's, I think, is the key part.
Do people who apply for a job with you know what they're getting into? Do they know how complicated and complex it's have to be?
No, I think a lot of people who come into the industry think it's a temporary stop for them. I'm going to jump into the security industry and maybe do some studies, do some reading, and it's my temporary gig until I get where I really want to be in my career. And a lot of people
kind of like you started.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. A lot of people who come to our company actually realize after a short period of time that there's actually really a career. We're in an industry that's growing, depending on the market segment, anywhere from 6 to 30% a year. And so it's a real business and it's a real industry, and it's growing very quickly, and we're actually growing a lot faster than the industry stats.
Do you have much in the way of competition?
Well, we've got competition at every level, and great competition too. Vancouver is a very sophisticated market for security for sure, and so I find that having great competition really promotes greatness for not only for us but for our competitors. So I think we push them and they push us, and through that we have constant and never-ending improvement in our company. You
mentioned technology. When we come back, I want to find out a little bit about how the business has changed in the time that you have been in it. I'm Bill Good. We're broadcasting live from the Beatty School of Business, the SFU campus, and it's a presentation of Fortis BC, and we'll be right back. Talking with Ashley Cooper, the CEO of Paladin Security. We are broadcasting from the Beatty School of Business in downtown Vancouver, the SFU campus. Ashley Cooper has started us off with a little bit of talk about how he got started and the beginnings of his company, and we touched before the break on technology, and I'm guessing that technology has dramatically changed your business in the time that you've been in business.
Technology is changing so quick, not just in our business, but in every single industry. And I look back and I kind of laugh when I was a young guy and I used to sneak out of the house and take off. There was no way to be caught unless my parents woke up when I left. But today you've got alarm systems and the doors chime when the kid tries to go out, and I don't think kids can get away with anything now. And it's the same with technology today with camera systems, which what is being watched right now with access control and alarm systems, and it's really changing the way that we deliver our service for sure. But not just in the system side, also in the way that you deliver your services. So in our case, we've combined technology in the way that we train people. So we've got online learning management systems that are, we've got a whole team of people that create courses every day that address issues that we're facing out in the field. So it's a very quick response from us identifying a challenge or an issue to creating a course and getting that implemented and teaching our people in that.
How do you deal with the frustration that a lot of people have in that their alarm is set off, but there isn't really somebody trying to break in? The police no longer want to respond to the alarm. How do you deal with that?
Well, we have a service in our company, and it's an emergency response service. So we have, I don't even know how many cars we have on the road in Vancouver, but there's a ton, and they're on at all hours of the day. And if somebody has an alarm, we respond first, and we respond with people who are trained in how to deal with that. And
but you actually do respond.
Oh yeah, every time, and we have our own ULC listed monitoring and operations center. So we answer the alarm, we dispatch our people, and we react accordingly. If the police are required, then we bring them in at that time. But that's a big problem, and I can appreciate where the police are coming from. If they had to respond to every single alarm, they'd be doing nothing but responding to false alarms. And most of the alarms are false because people either don't know how to use their system properly, or because there might be a fault in the system, and it's a real problem these days.
So how do you deal with it?
We firstly try to educate our customers. We make sure we put in a quality system and not an improper system that's not designed for that premises. That's another issue that occurs. And we respond to our own alarms. So we create the full circle and the full cycle of response and security. One
of the things we try to do when we're talking to the various CEOs is find out what makes a CEO, what makes a leader. Did you have a mentor when you were growing up?
I did. My mentor was my dad, and unfortunately he passed in '99, a little bit too early for my liking. But he certainly helped me along the way in many things.
In what ways? What did he teach you?
Oh, he pushed me. He was a hard driving. He's one of those guys who fought in the Second World War and had nothing, and then created something for himself.
What did he do?
In Winnipeg, he was a vice president for Investors Group, and then he came to Vancouver and did a whole bunch of different things, entrepreneurial types of things. He built Fiberco Expert, the big wood chip facility in North Van, and did a whole bunch of some other forestry companies.
Did he live long enough to see some of your success?
Yeah, he did. He did some of it. Yeah.
That must have pleased him.
I think he was happy. Yeah, but it's like everybody else. It's tough when you lose somebody you love, and it doesn't matter at what age, right?
But you've carried on, and you've carried on with the company. I think we touched on it. I know I read about it. Your brother actually started, and you started part-time.
Yeah.
But did you ever envision that this was going to be your life?
Yes and no. Everybody gets into things in different ways, and if you look back at your life, how did I get here? And it's a series of many, many decisions. And my goal, even from a young kid, was I want to run $1 billion company, and that's what I want to do, and I still want to do that. And I see that we're getting closer and closer, but there's still a long way to go. So yeah, I've always kind of thought that this is where I want to be.
You've stayed in Vancouver. Is this market different from, say, Winnipeg or Toronto or Halifax? Do you have to tailor your business in a different fashion for every market?
Absolutely. I think Canada is a very large and diverse country, and people make decisions differently in each market. So, on the prairies, you'll see things are a lot faster. Things happen quickly, and with the oil and gas leading the way, people will look at you and say, "Can you do this?" You go, "I can do that." They go, "Okay, you got the job." Whereas in other markets, you might have to pitch in front of a whole committee, and the committee takes 6 months to make a decision. And so every different part of the country is different in how they look at the industry, how they make their decisions, and ultimately we have to tailor our service around that.
You mentioned oil and gas, and it popped into my mind that there's probably new demands on security around energy companies, around pipelines, for example.
That's a huge market, and I think that's going to be one of the largest growing markets going forward. One of the things I see when I travel the country is that the eastern part of the country, and specifically Toronto, still think that they're the center of the world, and they don't recognize that the West is really the economic engine of Canada, and most of that's coming out of the northern development, from the natural gas to the oil to potash to all these different minerals and resources that are coming out of the ground.
But are those all growth opportunities for you and for Paladin?
Anywhere there's growth, there's opportunities for us. I mean, we're a service, and so goes the economy, so goes Paladin. So, yeah, we look at those things very closely, for sure.
So how closely do you monitor the economy?
Personally, quite closely. When I was younger, I used to be a student of management, and I read virtually every management book known to man. And as time went on, I kind of moved away from that, and now I'm still a student of business, and every single night I'm reading about different economic trends, what's happening in this industry, companies that are doing interesting things. So I follow the market really, really closely.
Ashley Cooper is the CEO of Paladin Security. We're broadcasting from the BD School of Business, the SFU campus downtown, and we'll be back to talk more right after this. Talking with Ashley Cooper, CEO of Paladin Security, a presentation of Fortis BC. We were talking about growth. We were talking about the fact that you study a lot of other business people, and I'm curious to know what you read, who you read, and who you grew up admiring in terms of business leaders.
Wow, on the business side, I've read everything from Zig Ziglar to Peter Drucker and everything in between. And W. Edward Deming was a guy that I read a little bit of, and I really appreciate what he wrote. He's essentially the father of modern day quality, and that's something I'm really, really passionate and fanatical about. Is quality. Quality at every level of our company is really important to me. So it's you pick up something along the way from everybody. Everybody's got something that's interesting, and you learn from many different sources and try to process that and put it together into a strategy.
And how much of the reading that you did guided what you have become in terms of a business leader?
I guess a fair bit. As I say, you pick things up from all over the place, and some people I think you admire more than others, and you get great ideas. And in our company, we've never been afraid to try things, and we really believe in trying new things and seeing what works. And we're adaptable and maneuverable enough that if something doesn't work, we're quick to stop it. And if something's working, then we'll brainstorm on it and find new ways to make that work for us, and we roll that out across the country.
Give me an example of something that you've done that you would consider to be innovative.
Wow, I could probably talk about a lot. One thing that we're doing, and I guess it's innovative in the security industry, is our learning management system. So we have right now we have over 50 courses that we put online to our people, and make sure that people take these courses before they go into certain vertical markets. And that's kind of it ensures that our clients get people that are trained to a certain level in every case. Other things that we've done in the operation centers that we've created, like a place where we monitor alarms and monitor remote video from facilities all across the country in centralized locations. That's pretty advanced for our industry. These they almost look like the Starship Enterprise, so to speak. There's some pretty interesting technology in those areas.
What do you look for in people when you're hiring? I've been impressed at the dramatic growth that your company's had, 7,000 employees. Where do you get them? What kind of training do they have before they come to you? I understand the training you give them, but who are you looking for? And where do you look for people, and how do you keep them?
Well, I've heard other CEOs on this show talk about how they go to Starbucks and McDonald's and other great organizations and bring people in from those organizations, and I don't really subscribe to that philosophy. What we do is we grow our own people and we train them all the way along the way. So if you look at me, I started as a security guard and I've moved my way up. A lot of our top people have done the same thing, and I think that that's really important because it shows that they understand what happens, what it's like to be on the ground at 5 a.m. and be really, really tired, and they understand what it's like to try to work with that client and to try to solve these problems. So there's an empathetic issue there, and so when we're looking for people, we're looking for, first and foremost, honesty and integrity, but we're looking for people that have a great work ethic, that lead by example. They don't talk out of one side of their mouth and then put their feet up on the desk. They actually roll their sleeves up and they get involved at every level. And those are the people that we found are really successful in our industry and certainly in our company.
And how do you keep them?
Well, we about 6 or 7 years ago, we came to the conclusion that we were on a great roll, and we were growing back then, and we realized that we weren't going to be able to continue to grow if we didn't develop stronger management within our company. We didn't want to go outside and hire the guy who's at another company as a manager there and keep bringing these different people in from outside, because that was going to water down our culture. And so at that point in time, we realized that we had to grow people from within. So we started programs within our company. The first one was called the Junior Management Training Program, where we shipped people from all across the country, our top supervisors, and we brought them into Vancouver, and we put them up for a week, and we gave them a really, really intensive training program where all of our top management took time to teach courses about our culture, about what we value, about what our clients value, and how we could deliver better services. So these people have since many of them have gone on to management positions within our firm. So we really grow our people, and I look at things that if we don't actually, if we've got a vacancy and we don't hire somebody from within, I look at that as a failure. I don't like hiring from outside into our company. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that when people have really demonstrated a strong contribution, we offer them up a piece of the company.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
How big a piece?
It depends on the person. It depends on what they've contributed. So right now there's actually only 4 shareholders of Paladin, but we'll be opening up for a number of share offerings again in the coming months.
Talking with Ashley Cooper, the CEO of Paladin Security. When I come back, I want to find out a little bit about the work balance, how he manages to keep his life in some kind of order. We'll do that right after this. This is a presentation of Fortis BC, and we are broadcasting from the Beatty School of Business, the SFU campus in downtown Vancouver. Talking with Ashley Cooper, Paladin Security. I mentioned before the break that I wanted to find out a little bit about you and your life balance. Give me an example of a typical day in your life.
Wake up about noon, and no. No, I'm usually into the office. I get the kids off to school. I'm usually into the office.
How old are your kids?
They are 11, 14, and 21.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm usually into the office by 9, and some days I'm out by 6, but a lot of days it's just not that way. It's 7 or 8. Usually go home, spend a little bit of time with the kids, maybe get a squeeze in a workout or a hockey game with the boys, and then I go back to work at night. So I work every night and read and study and
at
and
home,
learn.
or do you come back to your office?
At home. Yeah.
And what do you do to kind of get away from it? Do you take holidays? Do you ski? Do you travel? What do you do?
Red wine mostly.
Red wine?
Yeah.
That's good therapy.
Yeah, it's good therapy. No, my kids play hockey and I follow them a lot. I work out. We're just undergoing a house renovation right now, so I'm also busily using my hammer and nails and doing what I can there. So I just do what I can. But truth is, I don't really have a great balance. It's a lifelong challenge that I've had. In the early days, I used to work 70, 80 hours a week, and I struggled with life balance, and now I work less, but still I struggle with the life balance a little bit better. But
do you take holidays? Do you travel?
I travel a fair bit for work, and I try to travel for vacation as well. I think that you gotta get away and clear the air for a while. I think vacations are important for everybody.
Where do you go?
Went to Europe last year. I've been to Australia, which is a fantastic country. Sometimes you just want to unwind. You go to a hot place and throw your feet up on a sun bench and let it hang out.
You sound like you actually have a pretty good balance.
I try, yeah. I have a lot of fun in life. I've got some great friends. I've got great family and fantastic people to work with. I mean, I couldn't be more fortunate. So I have a lot of fun in life, and that's, I think, really important.
You've lived in one place most of your life. Do you still have friends that you went to school with?
Yeah, it's funny. My best friends are still the guys I went to elementary school and high school with, and they're all troublemakers, and we have a lot of fun together.
What do you do?
Well,
that you can talk about.
Go back to red wine again.
Do you golf?
I do, yeah.
Well, you live right next to a golf course.
I do, yeah. So that certainly helps. But
Capilano.
Yeah. It's.
Do you read? Do you go to movies?
I don't go to movies very much. I don't watch a lot of. I don't really watch a lot of movies or TV. I spend a lot of time reading and trade publications. Just kind of. I guess I'm a student of what it is I do, and I can't say that enough for anybody who's going into any business, that you have to know more about your business than everybody else and about your industry. And if you do, you'll see opportunities before other people do.
You're 49 years old.
You had to say that, eh?
Yeah. Listen, there's a lot to come. But what do you envision the next 10 or 12 years to look like? Do you ever think about, I hate the word, retirement?
No. I actually think I'm the luckiest guy in the world, and I love my job. There's not a day that goes by that I don't look at it as a job. It's just it's what I do, and I love it, and I can't imagine doing anything differently. So I'm going to keep going at this, and my goal is to, as I mentioned, have I want to have $1 billion company, and I want to keep building this thing, and because it's fun.
But you're not building a company to sell it.
No. I think that's a big problem in Canada, is that there's so many people who build up a company to a certain size, and then they see a dollar figure, like, hey, if I exit at this point, I can get this much money, and I'm going to go retire. And as a result, Canadians don't tend to build great organizations in the same way that Americans do. And I'd like to keep building this thing. I think that right now we're a world-class company, and I think we're better than any of the companies out of the States. I think we're world-class, and I think that we've got something to show them.
Going to talk a little bit with Ashley Cooper when we come back about what I call my Vanity Fair questions, and that's where I ask Ashley, and he's got some time to think about this, if he could have dinner with any 4 people, living or dead, who would they be and why? And we'll do that when we come back. This is a presentation of Fortis BC, and we're broadcasting from the Beatty School of Business in downtown Vancouver at the SFU campus. Ashley Cooper is our guest. He is the CEO of Paladin Security. And I warned him, as I do all the CEOs, that I was going to ask this, but I find it to be one of the most interesting segments in the series. And that is when I ask if you could have dinner with any 4 people, living or dead, who would they be? And perhaps most importantly, why?
Well, I don't know that there's a great mix between this group, so it might not be the funnest dinner party, but it would certainly be interesting. My first person would be Ronald Reagan. That guy is, whether you like his politics or not, he was one of the best communicators there's ever been. Literally broke the Iron Curtain, and in my mind will go down as one of the best presidents the U.S. has ever seen. So you just can't not like that guy. He's just he was a fantastic man. Another guy that I'd really like to have dinner with would have been Sam Walton. Here's a guy who built up, a world-class organization in Walmart, and they're category killers in so many different fields. And how did a guy who just owned a little 5 and dime store build up a company that does over $460 billion worth of business in a year and dominates so thoroughly? So I think he'd be a really interesting guy to talk to.
How does somebody do that in one lifetime?
That's the thing I just keep thinking about. That's just such an amazing accomplishment. Another guy who I'd really like to meet was, I mentioned earlier, is W. Edward Deming, who is the father of modern-day quality, a guy who was so well-regarded. He went over to Japan after the Second World War and taught the Japanese about quality. And what he taught them was that quality is actually inexpensive, because if you build it right the first time, you don't have reworks, you have better efficiencies, you don't have angry customers, and your employees are more engaged. So quality is actually, building a quality product is cheaper than building a poor product. And that guy went on to the highest award a company in Japan can get is the Deming Award, and it's pretty amazing for an American to have done that. So he's the third, and the last. I didn't think you discriminated on me on this one. I would take both my parents, my mom and my dad. They're both passed since through cancer, and I would just love to have one more moment. I would give anything to have just another moment having dinner with them.
And what would you talk to them about?
That things are okay. Yeah, that things are okay, and that would be my parents. But the other guys, wow, it'd be lots to talk about. There'd be no shortage of conversation there.
The fellow who taught the Japanese about quality maybe taught them too well.
Yes, he did. Yeah. Good thing he didn't go to China.
Do you look at markets like China? Is that someplace you might go with the security business?
Not just yet. Our focus, we've got a little bit more fill-in to do in Canada. We are coast to coast. We've got a couple more markets to fill in, and then we're going to be looking south in the States, and I think we'll also be looking over to Europe, quite possibly Great Britain and some other markets. So,
is the security business as competitive in the States? I would guess it is, but you've looked at it closely. Is that really a growth opportunity for you?
It's every bit as competitive there, and possibly more. But I believe that it doesn't matter what you're into, like what market you're in, what industry you're in. If you do things differently and you do things with a bent towards quality, there's a role for you in that market. We like to think that we let a lot of the other firms fight over the low-paying customers, the ones that don't really care about quality, and we go after the customers that actually care about quality and that really are serious about their security. And we've been successful in that, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
And they really need to be serious about security.
They certainly do. There's a lot of threats out there in the world today, and it's only going to get worse, unfortunately.
Mr. Cooper, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I thank you for taking time out of a very busy schedule to do this. I'm Bill Good. We're broadcasting from the Beatty School of Business at the SFU campus, a presentation of Fortis BC.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that.